Hello and welcome to the BG podcast. My name is AJ Bingham, founder and CEO of Bingham Group. Our guest today is Henry Cisneros. Henry served as the mayor of San Antonio from 1981 to 1989, becoming the city's first Latino mayor in more than a century and only the second Latino mayor of a major American city. He later served as the 10th Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President Bill Clinton, where he helped shape national housing and urban policy. Over the course of his career, he has worked at the intersection of public leadership, housing, infrastructure, and regional economic development. He is the co-author of the Austin San Antonio Megaregion, Opportunity and Challenge in the Lone Star State, which examines how the Central Texas corridor is evolving into one of the most important growth regions in the country. Today, we'll be talking in more depth about that book with the co-author. And Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you for
Great.
your very complete introduction.
I could say more. There was a lot to say on your Wikipedia page, but I try to keep it brief and quick.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
think you did a great job. Thank you.
Great. Well, getting to it, first, what problem are we trying to solve with this book?
Well, I don't think we thought of it as a problem, but as an opportunity. Austin and San Antonio and the surrounding region are arguably going to be they are one of the fastest, but the fastest, most dynamic region of the United States over the next decade. And that's saying a lot because we have a lot of growth areas in the country. Obviously, within Texas is Dallas and Houston, and then there's Atlanta and Charlotte and Nashville and Denver and Phoenix and others. But Austin, San Antonio is going to be its growth is going to be very dramatic, and that's going to present opportunities of all kinds. This growth is almost inevitable because there really are no barriers to growth in this region. There's no mountain range that stops us. There's no ocean that's a boundary. There's just opportunity to grow, people coming here, younger families, growing families, uh, good education, the Texas spirit of accomplishment, the lower tax rates. It's just and then a lot to start with in
Mhm.
technology and higher education, in biosciences, cybersecurity, it's hospitality. It's just a high growth region. The census tells us that today the region from north of Austin to south of San Antonio, I like to call it Pflugerville to Floresville, is 5.3 million people. Very few of us think of this as living in a region, as we live in a region of 5.3 million people. But it is. It would be the 10th largest metropolitan area in the country if we thought about it in that way. However, what the census tells us, and this is what's really important, is that in 24 years from now till 2050, that's if you can remember what you were doing in 2000, that's about the same distance as from now to 2050. It's going to be 8.3 million people. Now think of that. From
Mhm.
5.3 to 8.3 is 3 million people, about a city about the size of Chicago, that's going to somehow descend on the region between northern Austin and southern San Antonio. Williamson County alone is going to grow toward 1 million people just on its own.
Mhm.
Austin is going to become the 10th largest city in the country. San Antonio is already the seventh largest city in the country. We have huge things happening, like the role of Tesla and Musk in Bastrop, for example, and Lockhart growth, and Taylor with a $45 billion Samsung semiconductor plant. I mean, you just Seguin growing in advanced manufacturing. The Japanese are there, ASUN and Colt and Holt Caterpillar. Um, this is not, my musings. This is pretty definable growth trajectory, and it's going to create, to your point, opportunity um, for growth of population, for the formation of businesses, for all kinds of services, for large employers, for higher education. Almost any sphere of American life is going to grow and
Hmm.
prosper in Central Texas.
One of the I like how your book was broken up. You went through several histories of both San Antonio and Austin, and I grew up in Austin, and there were things I didn't know about the city's history, but also all the various some of the major or various cities in between the corridor going down I-35 through
Yeah, well, there's the
county.
cities on I-35 that, like Comal County, is the fastest growing county in its category, and Hayes County is, again, top 10 in its category.
Hmm.
And then you've got New Braunfels growing past 100,000 now and on a trajectory to 200,000. And San Marcos with a university of 45,000 students at Texas State. But that's not the whole story. It's the way this area is growing is not like a corridor anymore, but it's Williamson County to the north with Pflugerville, Round Rock, Georgetown, Leander, Cedar Park, and then these other places that I mentioned to the east.
Hmm.
Uh, it's um, it's a lot of growth. To go back to your original question, there are going to be problems if we don't take the opportunity to act.
Yes.
And that's the critical thing. There's opportunity here, but there also could be a congested mess if we're not careful. We have to address transportation issues, water, which is scarce for all of Texas, but water shortages um, would be exacerbated by the kind of growth I'm describing. Power, electric power, because data centers are coming here at an unprecedented rate, just devouring electric power. We need to reserve open space, like this wonderful project underway called Great Springs, because if we don't reserve the open space, it's going to be gone, and we're going to be just wall to wall commercial and residential. And you want to have a quality of life in the mix. Workforce issues and training and education questions. We really need to be working together as a region because what's going to happen is regional.
Hmm. I think that was I know we'd had some discussions prior to the show about that the overarching probably call to action of the book that I gathered from that was how do the various business organizations, civic organizations as well, in the Austin Metro, San Antonio Metro, in between come together. And then maybe we can talk about that a bit because I think there have been uh, moves towards that in the past. I mean,
Yeah,
let's start kind of laying down the foundation of what's been done or attempted
sure.
as we look to the future.
Well, first of all, there have been efforts at trying to pull things together. We've got organizations like our councils of government, the Alamo Area Council of Government in San Antonio, the CAPCO, Regional Council of Governments in Austin, metropolitan planning organizations, both in Austin and in San Antonio. The chambers of commerce can work together. There are efforts at coming together, but not to bring the entire region. We still are working in individual geographies, and it's really time to think in terms of the region. You know, when you fly into this region at night on an airplane, you almost can't tell where one begins and the other ends because it really looks like it's coming together very, very cohesively. So we need to find the mechanisms for how we're going to work together. I recently was in Dallas and took advantage of the moment to go over to the North Texas Commission. Now, it's existed for 30 years or so. I don't know whether you're familiar with it, but it came into existence to support the growth of DFW Airport. And they had such success globally defining the airport that they quickly figured out we better get to work working on the region that is worthy of this global airport that we're about to have. And as a result, they started working on rail that connects Dallas and Fort Worth and water that they're importing all the way from Oklahoma and adequacy of power for the region. highway system. Um, and I think from my experience and in my various jobs, including being Secretary of HUD, I've been to 200 different American cities in every one of the 50 states. And I think that the DFW area is one of the better planned metros in America. They've been able to anticipate, and that's what we need to be doing in Central Texas.
Mhm.
Only we need to be doing it fast
Yeah.
because the growth is coming fast.
I like you brought up Dallas Fort DFW, because you made the comparison and contrast in the book about things that we can model off that, but also the differences, right? Dallas Fort
Right?
Worth, their proximity,
They're
the
a little
geographic
different.
proximity is a lot closer than Austin and San Antonio city limits are,
Right.
which is, that creates this, with having a joint airport. The airport's a good example, right?
Exactly. The airport is a perfect example. When I was mayor, we began talking about a joint airport for Austin, San Antonio, and just concluded Dallas and Fort Worth are 30 miles apart. That means you meet at the middle at 15 miles. San Antonio and Austin are 75 miles apart. To do an airport, it would have to be 35 miles. Very few people want to drive 35 miles to get to their airport. So, practically speaking, I think our region is going to be more like metros in America that have multiple big airports.
Hmm.
You take the Washington, D.C. metro, it's Washington Reagan in the city, Washington Dulles to the northeast, Baltimore, Washington to the northeast, Dulles to the northwest, and you can take flights out of any of those three airports in the metro, depending on where you are in the metro. Los Angeles is LAX, but also a Burbank airport, an Orange County airport, a Long Beach airport, an Ontario airport. All of those are major airports with major service.
Hmm.
That's what happens in a big metro. And I think that's the model. That's where we're going to probably end up in terms of, the way we think about air connections.
Yeah. Coming back to connections on the ground, so I-35 itself. Right? We have one major artery. I mean, there's some other side roads, but there's one
Yeah,
major thoroughfare between
yeah,
Austin and San Antonio. Um, and no, there's been discussions about rail ongoing. I'm sure for at least I know there are current discussions going on about that, and I'm sure those have in the past. But that's probably for besides air travel to really connect the city, right? I think you talk about this in the
yeah,
book as well. That ground travel,
absolutely.
that problem has to be cracked, has to be
I
fixed.
think you could say that there are very few limits to the reality that we're going to become a mega region. And I do believe, economically speaking, growth speaking, residential land patterns, that's going to happen. But the thing that could keep us from acting like a region is not having mobility
Hmm.
that connects all of the pieces. And we cannot function as a region with one highway as the spine. I-35 running from San Antonio to Austin and back. Uh, I have heard too many stories of people who literally have life-threatening moments on I-35 amidst the 18 wheelers. Uh, so we'll have to add more lanes to 35. That's correct, but that's not going to be enough.
Hmm.
We'll have to figure out a way to use SH 130 to the east better. I predict that's going to become a major thoroughfare. You're already seeing the economic development along SH 130, the big Tesla plant just outside of Austin, and then all the way down to Seguin. That whole area is going to fill in. Uh, some people use 281, but it's more fragile in the sense that that's where the limestone caverns are. That's where the caves are. That's where the vulnerable space. So I don't think we'll see the same kind of density of growth to on 281, but we will have to deal with transportation, and I absolutely certain that rail is part of the answer, whether it's rail or some other advanced technology, maglev or other. But Austin and San Antonio and even points beyond must be connected with high-speed rail for our region to function in a productive way. Maximum economics, maximum educational opportunities, maximal residential choices require mobility.
Hmm. You touched on data centers earlier. I think that's the and nationally, it's been more national conversations, but definitely in our region, tying that with water and infrastructure overall.
Sure.
Um, just what are you in your conversations you've been having? Have there been discussions about that regionally? I mean, the impacts you could have one in making up a city in shirts, but it has ripples to everyone else, right? So,
Yeah.
what from your point of view in the data center issue? Because it's not. I think everyone's their phone, everyone's using data, so we need those
Yeah.
centers. It's not
Yeah.
going to go.
Yeah.
It's not even it's not a problem. It's a fact of our modern life. So how
Yeah,
do
it's part of
we
it. It's
approach?
part of our new economy. The new economy is driven by electric power. People talk about electric vehicles as if they're a solution to our dependence on fossil fuels. Yes, they are a solution of certain kinds of pollution because we're not going to be polluting with people who are driving electric vehicles, but you still have to have them a place for them to plug in, and that requires building electric generation. In
Mhm.
fact, massive electric generation. So uh, we need to recognize the reality of it, and the society is going to be more electricity driven, and our mobile devices and social media and heavy use of computers of all massive computing power are part of the equation. And that's what data centers provide access to. Um, the data centers do have create the dilemma that they require more power. The data center we have in West San Antonio for Microsoft, which cost $1.5 billion to build, only employs 150 people, but uses more power than the Toyota plant on the south side that produces 240,000 vehicles a year. The data center uses more power, more electricity. We want to have data centers in the region, but we also have to be very, very eyes wide open about the amount of power and how you share that power with residential uses and other uses. So power is a concern, and data centers are a concern. Yet, as you said correctly, they are a feature of our new economy that's electricity driven.
God, we're coming also in time, so I want to kind of close on this question. What, from your view, what must Central Texas leaders get right over the next 10 years, next decade?
Well, I would say the first thing is we need to figure out how to talk to each other because right now people are doing their own thing within their own county, within their own city, within their own business, within their own areas of the metro, and we're not really talking to each other about the region as a whole. And really, it's because nobody has a primary obligation or duty as part of their work. A county judge is responsible for his county. A mayor is responsible for his city. A manager of a transportation system is responsible for his jurisdiction. Business leaders are responsible for their businesses, but we've got to realize we will create problems that impact our way of life, our businesses, our quality of life in communities, if we don't think about the region as a whole. Now, the swing is huge. We can either be one of the most prosperous and highest quality of lives in the world. I use those words advisedly. This is a gorgeous, wonderful place to be, and it can be for the long run. Or we can choose to be overly congested and in mobility deficit, if you will. We can be short on power, so we have to reject economic opportunities because we don't have the power. We can be short on water and be like Phoenix that has to ration out its housing permits because they don't have enough water to house new development, to provide water for new developments. We can be uh, without open space and without green space because we didn't think about it in 2026. And by 2050, the land's all gone, all taken. We can compete as airports, or we can collaborate and figure out what other opportunities there's going to be to move people around by air. Um, so that's the swing,
Hmm.
and So the first step is let's talk, and then let's talk specifically about the things that we need to do to keep this region prosperous and strong and a great place to live.
Henry, thank you for your leadership on this, and thank you for co-authoring that book. The book, again, is the Austin San Antonio Megaregion: Opportunity and Challenge in the Lone Star State. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, AJ, and thank you for your part in informing people and doing the kind of work at the grassroots level that keeps our community strong. Thank you.